Many thanks for choosing us. First Deputy Speaker Jose Wusu has overruled the minority leader's motion to overturn approval of the 2022 budget. On Tuesday, the majority moved a motion of rescission and overturned the minority's rejection of the budget and consequently passed the budget in a one-sided house after the minority boycotted sittings. The minority argued it was unconstitutional for Jose Wusu to take the seat of the speaker and also vote. The minority said the speaker cannot be referee and player at the same time.
The Constitution is very clear, Mr. Speaker, that first 102, a quorum of parliament apart from the person presiding. A quorum of parliament apart from the person presiding shall be 1/3 of all the members of parliament. 1/3 of all the members of parliament. Mr. Speaker, I emphasize the word apart from the person presiding to begin an argument about a chain of arrangement that intends that when we are discussing the question of quorum, we should always leave the person presiding. That anytime we are discussing quorum, we should always leave out the person presiding. That is the argument. Whether it is a quorum to transact business or a quorum to take decision, always leave out the person presiding. This provision has been repeated in Order 48 of our standing orders, which says the presence of at least 1/3 of all the members of parliament besides the person presiding shall be necessary to constitute a quorum of the House. Mr. Speaker, it is clear that all the time we should take away the person presiding, regardless of whether he is the substantive speaker, the first deputy speaker, or even the second deputy speaker. But yesterday, Mr. Speaker, you were presiding, and even though we were not in the chamber, we heard you counting yourself among the people who should be counted to constitute quorum for taking a decision in this House. That is why we say that what happened yesterday was irregular and cannot stand, because you were presiding and you counted yourself, when the intention of the Constitution is that any time that we are discussing quorum, we should put aside the person presiding when counted. Mr. Speaker, let me further buttress the arguments that we are making. That when you are presiding as a deputy speaker, first deputy or second deputy speaker, I've heard argument, oh, but the person is a member of parliament. At the time when you assume the seat, you are no longer ordinarily a member of parliament.
But Majority Leader Seche Mensah Bonsu disagrees.
Speaker, since Friday up to yesterday, the position of my colleagues on the other side was that nothing bad had happened when they purportedly took a decision binding the entire House, which was supported by 137. Mr. Speaker, the hazard of that day, and you hear some spirited efforts to the effect that, oh, apart from the 137, there was one MPP hiding somewhere in some corner. today you are saying that it's 274. Mr. Speaker, the contract captures this.
I want to listen to him.
Nobody should attempt to throw dust into the eyes of the general public. Mr. Speaker, and then I hear one of our respected colleagues saying that the Speaker cannot be counted as one of us, much less to participate in the voting. Mr. Speaker, the Electoral Commissioner who supervises our elections is not barred by any law from voting, even though he declares the election. Because that was a position of the Honorable Dominic Aini. That was the position of Honorable Dominic Aini. And that's why I'm responding to him. But Mr. Speaker, we are dealing with the standing orders. Mr. Speaker, the minority leader is also attributing a statement to me that I said the motion should be approved subject to some concessions. Mr. Speaker, I never on this floor said the motion must be approved subject to concessions. I never.
First Deputy Speaker overruled the motion, and this degenerated into a bowl of assorted confusion.
Members, when it comes to the question of voting, it is very clear. Anytime any of the deputy speakers or any other member elected to preside is in the chair, that member does not vote. That has never been in dispute. Anytime a member is presiding, either a deputy speaker or a member who by necessity is elected from among members to preside, that person does not vote.
He's debating. We are debating.
Who was that?
Shut up!
You should shut up, brother. Who was that? Can the measure find that person and vote him out? So, honorable members, let me put on record that I am a member of parliament. I was counted to make the motion, and that was suspended in this house. What are you doing? You don't rule on it. We have to take a decision. I did not vote. Tell me in the standard what is therefore the application. He cannot rule. He cannot rule on an motion. That is before the house. No. How can he rule on a motion? He cannot rule on the motion before the house. How can he rule? So as the standard order. Honourable members, sitting is suspended for 1 hour. You are not a speaker. You are not a speaker.
Addressing a press conference, the minority leader Harun Idrisu criticized the First Deputy Speaker for ruling on the motion instead of putting it to vote.
Today we have been told that deputy speakers are not speakers. Our standing orders have been set aside. Any of you here, open your standing order and read the definition of speaker. It includes deputy speakers and persons presiding, as is expected of them under Article 102 of the Constitution. When you hear the Constitution, and go to the record, I've used it on the floor of Parliament. When you hear the Constitution say, except otherwise as provided in the Constitution, those of us who understand constitutional law, it operates as a limitation that in the exercise of that authority and mandate, have respect to other provisions of the Constitution. In any case, is it our minority they want to teach Article 104? Go to the record. I, on Thursday, 25th, stated on the floor of Parliament, reminding Speaker Bagbin that tomorrow, Friday, I will invoke Article 104 of the Constitution. At that time, as boastful and arrogant as they have been, they said they will populate it. So today you have seen what population does. The first deputy speaker simply abandoned putting a question on a motion and opted to give a ruling. You don't rule on a motion. The motion was accommodated. The motion was seconded. It was debated. All he needed to do was for the House to decide. But they knew that on their side, their numbers were not enough. It's to remind President Akufo-Addo and the majority leader that majority in Parliament is majority present and voting, not majority outside the presence, the chamber, in the skies. No, members available, present and voting. That is what the Constitution contemplated, even in Article 104.
Parliamentary correspondent Parker Wilson joins us with more. Parker, what a day has been in Parliament. I understand MPs even argued about using left finger to point each other.
We're arguing over what is quorum. And Aisha, if you look at the vote and proceedings for today, on page 12 of it, it talks, the vote and proceedings for yesterday, I should say, page 12. It says quorate number present in the chamber, 137. Now, it goes on to say that the Honorable First Deputy Speaker indicated that as a member of Parliament representing Bekwai constituency, he signed the attendance register to indicate his attendance of sitting and therefore counted himself as part of the quorate number, thus bringing the total quorate number to 138. That has been the argument of the minority, which of course led to the pointing of fingers. Now, the point they make is that the table office themselves yesterday counted only 137 MPs in the chamber. If the table office understands the standing order or has a better appreciation of the standing order, they knew that Joyce occupying the speaker's chair was not a member in the House at the moment. And that is why he didn't count himself. And yet Joyce proceeded to count himself as a member of the House, which brought the number to a total of 138. The debate, in fact, it generated into a lot of debate. So in the course of the debate, the MP for Keten in the Western region, Joe Gate, also made his point and indicated that the minority lacks an appreciation of the standing orders. They have misconstrued what the standing orders means by a quorum and when Parliament must take a decision. The Member of Parliament for Asawasi constituency, Muntaka Mubarak, then objected to the comment he made. Now, whilst Muntaka was talking, he used his left hand.
Parker, for clarity, let's listen to the Ketan MP. Then we can continue with this.
Yes, saying that the Honorable Muntaka is my colleague and a very good friend. We worked together in the past. But today, Honorable Muntaka is continuously pointing at me with his left hand. You're out of order.
Honorable Daya. Yes, continue. Yes, Speaker. Even though you rule it out, I'm not aspiring to be president. I apologize. I will point my left hand at you. I will keep pointing to you with my right hand. You know I'm left-handed, so sometimes I forget and I use my left hand. I'll be mindful, even though you rule out.
So Muntaka explained that clearly, that he's left-handed, so sometimes he forgetfully uses the left hand. I mean, that shouldn't generate into confusion.
Well, I think that settled the matter. I mean, Joe Gatti did not object to the comment again when Muntaka indicated to the whole House that, well, he's left-handed and sometimes he forgets, and that is why he uses the left hand to make reference to Joe Gatti when he was talking to him during his debate or response on the floor. But, of course, we know that today Parliament was forced to take an early adjournment because of the confusion, where we saw some members of Parliament attempting to snatch the chair, the Speaker's chair, because Joe Wise had indicated that, well, deputy speakers are not Speaker of Parliament, and so he cannot be prevented from being counted as a member of the House. Even some of the minority MPs went as far as trying to grab the mace, which is a symbol of authority of Parliament. And the mace is the one that you see if you're in the chamber. You see a staff placed right in front of the Speaker, and where the Marshal actually places the mace. Some minority MPs wanted to snatch or grab the mace and take it away. So there's a lot of confusion. But I must say that Parliament was forced to suspend sitting for an hour. When they resumed, Joe Wise, who had presided over the today's proceedings since morning, was conspicuously missing. In fact, it was the deputy speaker who assumed the chair, that is Andrew Isema, the former MP, who assumed the chair, and he indicated to the House that, well, they would have to adjourn sitting for today. But before his pronouncement, Haruna Dusu had made the point that they were expecting Joe Wise to come and resume the seat and continue with the proceedings, because Joe Wise had indicated to the House that it was going to have an extended sitting. So he's surprised that he's not in the chamber presiding over the meeting, because he wants Joe Wise to put the question to the motion that the approval of the budget yesterday was illegal. The determination of that motion would be determined by members of Parliament, and he, Joe Wise, cannot pronounce judgment on the motion which hasn't been referred to members of the House. And I must say that the NPP is clear. In fact, I've spoken to some of them who tell me that if you look at the issue critically, there was no motion before the House, because per their standing orders, if you want to move a motion, you have to notify the Speaker in advance. I must say, Joe Wise said on the floor of Parliament that he wasn't given any notice, and so he was surprised that Haruna Dusu would move the motion. However, he decided to accommodate the motion and paved way for the debate. So the NDC is insisting that since you accommodated the motion, of course, you have to put a question for us to vote on the matter. So that has generated the confusion. But I must say that right now, the leadership of the House, the minority and the minority leadership are locked up in the meeting today. They are trying to build consensus going forward, because the minority has served notice that until the determination of the motion, every other matter before the House will come to a halt. They will not subscribe to any other matter brought before Parliament until the determination of the motion before the Speaker.
Baka, let me ask you this. You talk about the Speaker's chair being weeks away, and I saw you talk to the MP who did that. What was his explanation for doing that?
In fact, we are talking about the Member of Parliament for Ashama constituency, Ernest Nobe, who was captured in our cameras, on the camera, attempting to, in fact, he actually grabbed the Speaker's chair. I must say, he grabbed the Speaker's chair, moved away. In fact, he mounted the podium, grabbed the chair, and was moving away with the chair when the marshals accosted him. His point is simple, Aisha. He says that Joe Wise, in his pronouncement or ruling, observed that if you are a deputy speaker, you are not a Speaker of Parliament. And so if he's not a Speaker of Parliament, then he has no business sitting in the Speaker's chair. And so there is no Speaker of Parliament today. He's grabbing the chair until the return of the Honorable Speaker, Alban Babin. And so his reason was quite simple, that since Joe White says he's not the Speaker, well, there's no Speaker, so he's grabbing the chair so that at least they can protect the chair for the Speaker. And that is why he attempted to take the chair away.
Baka Will Singh is our correspondent in Parliament. He's been bringing us up to speed with happenings in Parliament.